All right, everyone. Welcome to the first and apparently the only panel today at Syracuse ZombieCon. I'm Mike Fitzgerald, and I'm here with my co-host,
Paul Showens,
from the Geek Pod podcast, and his better half,
Hugh Allen, and you got that right.
Hey! All right, cool. So we've got a number of guests here today who've portrayed zombies for both film and television, and I'm just going to let our guests introduce themselves.
I'm Greta Volkova.
Mark Peak from Angel Films.
Jeremy Ambler.
I'm Stevie Nicks.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
All right.
My name's Wayne W. Johnson.
All right, cool.
W stands for Wayne.
Stands for wanker.
All right. So, not a zombie, but question, but how did you get started in acting?
The official one? So I can't say porn, right?
Oh, okay.
No.
We've all seen it, Wayne. Don't worry.
I actually parlayed it. I used to be in music. That used to be my primary focus. Ironically enough, when I was in high school, I had a choice between music and acting, and I chose music. And now I'm doing acting. I kind of got burnt out in music in 2010. So I kind of put that on the back burner, and I was already doing some music videos, and through those connections, I started getting into acting.
Jeremy?
Well, I always wanted to be an actor ever since I was like 5 or 6 years old. And a lot of my influences for wanting to be an actor was watching the old classic Universal monster films, your Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, stuff like that. But I started off as a spectator at the race in the Dukes of Hazzard movie, with Burt Reynolds and scenes with Burt Reynolds and all those, Willie Nelson and Johnny Knoxville and Sean William Scott and Jessica Simpson. The big, the scene at the close to the end of the film, the race scene. And just kind of worked my way up to where I could become, Screen Actors Guild eligible, and then, break into your featured extra and your small speaking roles. So that's kind of how I started out.
Thank you. Mark?
I started out doing local theater where I'm from, out in the Albany way. But what got me wanting to be an actor was a little-known director by the name of John Carpenter. Anyone know John Carpenter? So I see, watching that stuff growing up, I said I wanted to do that. So that's what I do.
Greta?
I was friends with a couple of independent filmmakers on Facebook, and one summer they sent out a post looking for extras in their film, and I was familiar with the project and I thought it was going to be fun, so I said yes, and that's how I caught the acting bug, and I started going to other auditions.
All right. So, now we're talking about portraying zombies. You've been in a number of zombie films, and not just as a victim. Could you tell me about some of your roles?
The couple I was victims by zombies, but one I was turned into a zombie.
Do you want to drop the name of the film?
Sure. In Empire State of the Dead, I was both a victim and a zombie. In Bigfoot vs. Zombies and HELLBOUND, I had died but did not turn into a zombie.
And you were in Empire State of the Dead with our other guest, Wayne. Applause. Okay. All right. So how did you first become a zombie, Mark?
I was approached by Matt Peters at Mad Angel Films. He wanted to do, it started as a short. It was called Half Dead, about a gangster that becomes a zombie, but through the power of love, corny I know, is able to control it and be kind of half zombie, half human, hence Half Dead. Then we decided to make it into a full length. We shot it, and I got to be the zombie and the zombie maker. It was quite fun.
So the power of love. So this film was later re-released as Warm Bodies?
No, it was later re-released as the Wayne W. Johnson story.
That's the porn version.
Chapter 3, 1 and 2 I can't tell you about.
All right, so Jeremy here is the only one who hasn't worked with Wayne W. Johnson. So you must have a unique story as to how you first started portraying zombies.
Well, a lot of people don't realize, but the very first zombie movie that I ever worked on was a movie that never came out. It's called Dead End. and it had Linnea Quigley, and she shot me in the head. But the film never came out, unfortunately. It was never finished, and that was, and the reason that I ended up in that one is because I'm good friends with her, and but it was sadly it was never finished. It was filmed in Florida, and I've seen only bits and pieces of footage and different things. It's stuff that's not even been CGI'd in and all that different stuff. But that was kind of the start with the whole zombie.
Okay, pull back. A show of hands. Who here has been in a production that they never saw the light of day of it? Oh, everybody here. Okay, cool.
Part of the business.
It is?
No, it is. That's something that's always a risk. I mean, it's for whatever the reason is, whether the production runs out of money or producers just decide to scrap it for whatever reason, or sometimes your stuff is just totally cut out and it's released, but all your stuff is on the cutting room floor. It's part of the business. It is what it is.
So you were the lead zombie in the film Night of Something Strange. You played Cornelius. Did you have any zombie roles before that film?
Yes, I did, actually. Speaking of stuff that's not released, there was a web series called, I can't even remember what it's called now. But I actually played like a traditional, more slow-moving zombie in that. It's fit to... She's going to kill me for this because I'm not remembering it, but it's not released anyway, so it's out of there. And I believe I did once or two, but it's kind of hard to remember with that. But definitely the apex zombie moment for me is Cornelius in Night of Something Strange, because where else am I going to be playing a masturbating zombie?
Okay, and we move on. All right. So...
I use that tag a little too much.
Okay. How did you become involved in The Walking Dead?
Well, I'd, of course, been in other movies and TV, but with Walking Dead, I worked on the movie The Crazies, the remake of The Crazies, as a soldier in Georgia, and I overheard something about them, casting for a TV series called Walking Dead. And at the time, nobody, I didn't know that it was based on a comic book until I kind of looked into it, and I'm like, well, this is interesting. And nobody knew, nobody had any clue what it was going to be like, if it was going to be a success or a failure or what. And they had already filmed season 1, so when season 2 came around, I submitted my photo and resume, and they said, well, come to zombie school, and we'll go from there. So basically that's kind of how The Walking Dead came about.
Okay, now that's a good thing. I wanted to follow up on zombie school. Okay, now you play a different zombie in your film, half alive, half dead. So what zombie qualities was important for you to have?
Well, my zombie school is George Romero. So every time, whenever I think of a zombie, I just think of the old school Night of the Living Dead zombie. Although it's hard because I was half human. How do you incorporate that? The rule was, when we shot, and you can ask Wayne, the rule one was my zombies do not run. There's no running zombies in my world. So it's very important to me that they're very, like Wayne said, old school, where they're just instinct. There's no thinking really. So they're just going to shamble as far as I'm concerned. So that's what I do.
Now, when you become a zombie in... spoilers for Empire State of the Dead. Ron Boggs could be upset with me now. What kind of direction were you given in portraying the zombie?
It was sort of similar to The Walking Dead. I know the one feedback was to not do living-related behaviors. I know one of the scenes, one of the zombie extras was reaching for her cell phone, and the director's like, no, if you're dead, you're not going to be reaching, not going to be reaching for accessories or anything. So it's like trying to forget about all like living-related functions. Don't be adjusting your watch. Don't, you're dead. You're just shambling. And don't be obsessing about the little nuances of being alive.
So, on that production, The Walking Dead was used as a reference. You went to zombie school. What kind of direction do they give you?
Well, they basically rate you on a scale from 1 to 5. So, and that being with Greg Nicotero, does all that stuff. But he watches you, how you walk, how you act, all that good stuff. Like, they get right down to the very nitty gritty with all that. And when they rate you, and sadly a lot of those people, some of them don't make the cut. They're not even involved in it at all, because they can't get it down to where where to Greg's liking.
What are some of the strikes that could kick you out of? What makes you fail zombie school?
A lot of that, one of the major no-nos is the Frankenstein walk, the hands. The Frankenstein walk, that's one of the major things I do know. I don't really know, anything else as far as what can just get you just completely out of it. But I know that's a major no-no.
So what was your direction on portraying the zombie Cornelius?
Well, the director of NOS, Jonathan Strayton, gave me 2 DVDs to watch while I was on the set of filming on a Star Trek fan film called Star Trek New Voyages at the time. The first one was 28 Weeks Later, specifically focusing on the man. I can't remember the name of the role. He turned into a zombie, and he was very vicious, and he killed his wife, who was like on a table, all that. And the other one, and I always mess this up, it's one of the Living Dead movies. It's the one in the shopping mall, Dawn of the Dead, it was the remake of that. And the emphasis was more on the modern zombie, which was sprinting, was just a rabid killing machine. And ironically enough, when I was filming with New Voyages, we were staying in these cabins, and I would, if I wasn't filming, I would be there and I would be just studying my lines. Well, we had a late shoot, and we all went into the cabins, and there was like 2 or 3 people per room. And there was a guy next to me who, the lights were off because it's just the way it is. Sometimes with indie films, you don't get lights at night. And I was just hoping that I would fall asleep real quick, because he was a really bad snorer. Okay, and I didn't fall asleep fast enough. So he's snoring, he's out like a light, and he's snoring, and it's pitch black, no moon or anything like that. And you got to remember, I'm watching these zombie movies and everything like that, and he's like snoring, he's going, and all of a sudden he goes, and all of a sudden I'm more awake now, and all of a sudden I hear, I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I'm watching zombie movies, and there's somebody groaning like that. But those were my model movies for that, and then just basically whatever else I could study to interpret the character the way the script required.
Okay. Now, it sounded like your roommate almost sounded like a zombie there.
There's I think some people would not debate that.
Now, is there an audio component to your performance? I mean, are you given directions upon what sounds to make, or?
I did my own sounds when we shot the show, but unfortunately all that gets dubbed over by voiceover artists. If you look on the season 2 special features, you can see them, they had the voiceover artists in front dubbing the zombie voices for the footage that's on the screen. And it's so funny, because if you look at the special features and you watch that special, you can actually see a clip of one of my scenes to where they're actually dubbing it over, and it's crazy. It's crazy how they do all that stuff. But I think I did it just as well as they did, as far as the zombie, the growls and groans and stuff. But that's just what they choose to do.
Well, you've had other opportunities to portray a zombie, correct? So did you be able to do your own audio performance for those films?
Yes, like MILFs versus Zombies. When you watch that and you see me digging into the intestines and pulling them out and all that, that's actually me making those noises. To my knowledge, they use it. I hope so, but I think so.
Now, you had a unique situation in where you're still human to some extent, but what did you want to bring to your vocal performance to bring out the zombie?
I just went full guttural, because the character, even though he's half alive, he's still spent time not 100%. So when you're in that kind of situation, your vocal cords are going to get a little weird. But in the movie, there's towards the end, my character, spoiler, goes into full zombie rage. So I've got a mouthful of fake blood and guts all over, and you just go full beast mode. You just go full primal, and you got to bring it up from the inside and just let it out.
Did you get to go full primal in your role?
I remember my zombie scene, I was making zombie growling noises, but what was weird was that no one else around me was. There was like this odd silence. Like you have like a dozen people like chewing on someone and there's just silence. I'm like, are we supposed to be silent? I was doing just the typical guttural growling, but no one else was. It's bizarre having just like a silence with zombies just, just devouring a person.
How did your makeup as a zombie influence your performance?
My makeup was that I was a more fresh zombie, so it wasn't like I didn't have like hanging flesh, no bones or anything. So all I knew was I was a relatively fresh corpse.
What about you now? Because once again, you're a half zombie, half human. How did your makeup influence your performance?
The makeup itself wasn't too intense. I was more just pale with dark shadows. I did have a massive head wound though. Once no matter what it is, makeup, costume, once you get that on, it's so much easier to go into character. Although the best thing I did on Half Dead was I made Wayne cover his beautiful face in some sort of ninja mask. Because I didn't want his face taking away from mine.
He is a handsome man. All right. How long does the makeup when you portray a zombie take in The Walking Dead?
Well, for both of the makeups, for mine, it was 2.5 hours.
Do you feel it differently when you are in the makeup? Do you think it affects your performance in any way?
Not really, because I can, I do the zombie walks, and I do for these panels and stuff, like when I'm asked to do it, just jump right in there and do the walk. With makeup or without, it don't really matter, because I've got it to where I just like that.
Well, now you know you have to later.
Right.
Oh, okay. I'm saving that for the end. You had a variety of makeups for your role as Cornelius. So how long was the process from the initial zombie that we see you as to the more degraded zombie?
About a little over an hour each time. Part of that, it kind of worked to our advantage because initially, you know how they always want a consistent look? That wasn't quite happening on the set, which kind of worked to our advantages because Night of Something Strange is about the zombie virus spread through STDs, so it did seem like the disease was like spreading more, so my makeup was looking a little different here and there whenever you're watching the movie. It wasn't always totally consistent. Sometimes it looked more streamlined. In the beginning, the artist actually used like grease paint, but then like within the 4th day, for whatever reason, switched to airbrushing, which of course is a totally different look. But fortunately, it kind of worked out well because again, especially with me, because of that, it seemed like things were progressing, like the disease was really hitting me hard. So, but overall, everything took at least an hour. And unfortunately, I tend to sweat heavily. Even no matter what you put on, whether it's dragon skin or anything, it starts coming off me at some point. So there's always a time period where repair work has to be done. There was one time where we were filming and there was no dragon skin. They were using latex, and I was sweating it so much that for whatever reason they made the decision, let's just put a whole bunch of blood here and let's put duct tape and get it right here. And so I did that because I'm a good little boy. And But that didn't work. Of course, none of that stuff made it into the final cut. But then I had to take all that off, and yeah.
So what's the hardest part of being under the makeup for a long period of time?
Well, as far as makeup and stuff goes, I really don't mind the makeup, being in makeup, but the contact lenses is the thing that I really don't like at all, because after you wear them for so many hours, it starts giving you a headache, and you just want them out. But I noticed that there's a lot of difference between Walking Dead. The contact lenses are a full eye contact lens, so they're not cheap, because they're very overprotective about those lenses, because if one falls out, they completely stop filming and look for that lens. Like they just drop everything. I mean, they've got 15 people like looking for it if the person can't find it, so then they have to go and wash it off, put it back in their eye, and I've actually seen that done. So it's pretty amazing there. But they're definitely, those lenses are not cheap. And now I have wore the cheap contact lenses as well for some of the other zombie stuff, and you can see a major difference between the ones that are really, really high dollar and the ones that are cheap.
Besides the level of practical effects, what do you think is the biggest difference between the zombies you've played for films and the type of zombies you play on The Walking Dead? Are you asked for a different kind of performance or given different direction?
Well, I pretty much, for each zombie movie and show and everything that I've worked on as far as zombie stuff goes, I always ask, the director what they want. That's the first thing that's most important. So then I know exactly how they want that certain zombie to act. Depends on the situation that's in the scenes or scene. But that's pretty much how I just pretty much go with whatever the director says.
So did you have any issues wearing that gash makeup for a long period of time?
Yes, for a couple reasons. One, like Wayne, I sweat a lot, and we were shooting this summer, and if you notice, I wear a lot of pomade in my hair, and the character I played had this look. So mixing the fake blood with cheap pomade and sweat, after about 2 hours, it got to be annoying. But what are you going to do? That's the business.
Cool. So which side of the human versus zombies do you prefer to be on? Do you prefer to be the victim or the zombie?
Prefer the victim or the zombie? What about survivor versus? I don't want to be.
Well, the survivor.
All survivors are victims eventually.
I mean, I suppose the zombie then, because zombie has nothing to lose.
What do you enjoy about portraying a zombie?
I mean, it's more getting on a more primal level. They're just hungry. They're just looking to survive.
Mark, what did you enjoy about portraying the zombie in Half Dead?
Like she said, just learning how to run on pure instinct and just going all for it and not being afraid. Just go at it, attack people, and eat their guts.
So you said you're influenced by a lot of the classic Universal monsters. Well, the zombie is not part of that canon. So why is that the monster that you prefer to portray, or is there one of the classics that you'd love a chance to portray, or have you had a chance to?
Well, as far as that, I watched Night of the Living Dead growing up, the original, of course. So I guess that's kind of where the zombie thing comes in, with the classics and stuff. But I know that I'm not tall enough, but if I had a chance to portray Frankenstein in some capacity, I would love to do that. Give me big old boots, and I probably could pull it off. But with all that, I mean, no matter what you make, as far as remakes, nobody can compare to what Boris Karloff did with Frankenstein, without a doubt.
That's funny because in the movie that I did, Tales of Dracula, which is an ode to the 40s, it's black and white, the Universal films and stuff, the director, Joe DeMuro, who also plays the Frankenstein monster, he's shorter than me. But then he gets on those boots, and he gets taller, takes him about 4 hours to get all done up and everything, but it's a trip to see him when he's done up.
Well, you've portrayed zombies. You've portrayed the King of Vampires, Dracula, numerous times in a number of different productions. What monster would you like to portray next?
That's a good one. I don't know. Well, I usually play bad guys, so at some point it'll come around. I'll probably play that up. I would say one right now, off the top of my head, there was an episode that I did for a Star Trek fan film that I played a Klingon warlord, and I was all done up. The stuff was all filmed and everything, and all of it unfortunately got put on the cutting room floor. I was told I did great, but I guess not great enough. So, but I would love to play that again. And there is a possibility, because I just came from another fan film in Arkansas called The Federation Files, where I played, I reprised my role as Walking Bear on that. And I did tell them, if you ever need a Klingon warlord, especially more with the turtle heads, give me a call.
What kind of roles would you like to branch out into in the future?
Well, I've played all kinds of different characters in all the different movies and shows that I've been in. I mean, I've played historical characters, real life characters, from history. I've played drug addicts. I've played dead, dying people, or people that's dying. Zombies, of course. I've done a lot of various different roles. So, I mean, there's not really anything in particular that I would really, like to branch out in, because I've action, drama, historical stuff, comedy. I've did pretty much a little bit of everything in the genre. So
glad you've had that opportunity. What kind of work would you like to be doing?
In film, I would love to someday eventually play Jason Voorhees. On stage, maybe Alexander Hamilton. We'll see.
We're getting Jeremy Boots. He's going to be Jason, so you'll have to pick someone else. Okay. Actually, the actor who's best known as Jason, Kane Hodder, he's not actually as tall as you would think. I've had an opportunity to interview him before, so do you feel that you can be limited by your physique, your look, or do you think there's an opportunity for any role based on your talent?
Some roles are strictly physical. Like, I would not be able to play a ballerina because I just don't have the dancing. But it kind of depends. If it's an actual character, if you can act the role, if you can change your appearance in some way or form, you can. But it's just there's some things you can't get around.
My co-hosts don't have any follow-up questions. Well, I appreciate that, but I wanted to include everybody. Yeah. This is just a rehearsal. All right, cool. Oh, okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna wrap things up, and I like to have a little fun on our way out. We were talked earlier about the vocal component, so I'd like to hear your zombie from Empire State of the Dead. And we don't care if you scream. I don't care. That was good. Can I get some applause for that? That was good. I like that. All right. Now, you're more of a human zombie, but you do freak out at the end, so give me full-on zombie mode. All right, I'm going to clean that mic later. All right. So, all right, leaving Jeremy for last. This will be an exclusive, as we have not heard him as a zombie before. All right, so I have had the pleasure of listening to you as Cornelius, but do you want to share your Cornelius from Night of Something Strange with the audience?
Well,
I guess you got to see the film for that one. All right, and we're gonna. All right, and okay. All right, Jeremy's going to show us how it's done. All right, cool. right, thank you. Thank you to all our guests. They're all here for the rest of the day. Please visit their tables and support their work as actors. Everybody's got something. Wayne's got copies of numerous his films, including Night of Something Strange. Jeremy's got autographed pictures. Mark brought nothing. Give him a big boo. And Greta's got copies of Empire State of the Dead, in which he's a zombie. Thank you all very much from Syracuse ZombieCon!
Oh, we got a problem.
Define problem.
Okay. How about this? The guy I killed has come back and is trying to kill me. That fit your definition of a problem?
There's bound to be some side effects.
Side effects. The guy is a fucking zombie.
There is no such thing as fucking zombies.
Guess you're not much of a superhero, huh? Dear sister, terrible disappointment.
Well, get in there and find something real and get this under control, or I'm pulling you off.
Where's Vince? He's home. Go fuck yourself, Street.
You didn't. Now did you? Now I'm gonna pay.
Chief's looking for you.
Angel!
some friends I want you to meet. Quicker than I thought, Angel.
Still got a pretty big set, Vince.
What was that?
I think it's under the truck.
What can I do it for?
We'd like to.
Are you okay?